Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Things look a bit different because I am currently I'm basically not with my original setup. But yeah, hopefully you guys will be okay with this kind of a setup just for this deadline stream. I'm also streaming not on the deadline. I am streaming one day before the deadline, right? So the deadline is tomorrow, before the Saturday afternoon games. But basically, I can't stream tomorrow, and that's why I'm streaming today. So hopefully, you guys can hear me clearly as well. Let me know in the chat if I'm loud and clear because I have a mic on me at the moment. But yeah. So basically, I haven't recorded my team selection video, and I just figured let me just align this. I just figured that I may as well stream instead of recording the team selection video. So that I can chat with some of you guys, answer your questions, react to the latest press conferences as well. Let's get started. And yeah, thank you all for coming early. Not to worry. For those of you in the chat who are wondering, is the deadline in a couple hours time? It is not. Right, so let me just say hi to some of you guys. Thank you for coming very, very early today. VJ, as always, number one, always commenting, always being in the chats for the stream. So thank you for being here, VJ, Manish as well. Henry, nice to see you. The football guy. Toby, member in the chat, very nice to see you as well. JY, the football guy. Nicholas, Gibby. Thank you all for coming very, very early. All right, let us start with a couple of questions. And I also hope that the stream does not lag because the internet is not exactly the best here. So let me know if you guys are able to watch it smoothly and also able to hear me clearly. But I'm just gonna go along with a couple of questions, and let's get started. So nice. VJ says hi Leon and chat from a very windy York. Very nice to have you here. Akitike for captain. VJ, what do you think of triple captain Salah? Rate the idea out of 10. I just don't think now is usually triple captain chip is usually the chip that requires the least planning. It's more a thing of whether I feel Salah is going to do very well against Burnley. And the truth is that there's a couple of factors pointing to the fact that he may not, right? I mean, this is why the triple captainship requires the least planning, because there is a certain amount of luck involved in this, and I think out of all the chips that we have, the triple captainship is the one that involves the most luck. So honestly, there's nothing to say that he's not going to do well. But for myself, the reason why I'm probably not going to use it is he hasn't started the season firing, right, as he usually has done. Not only that, he doesn't have a very good record against Burnley, and also he's coming back from international break after being with the Egypt national team, right? So basically, I just don't feel like with all these factors considered, that he's going to be fit and firing, from the get-go against Burnley. So that's just my own thoughts. If you do feel like you want to triple captain Salah, again, I'm not going to put you off, because honestly, the triple captainship is pretty much, I don't know, 80-90% of luck involved in that. Right. J.Y. says, hello, my number one Singaporean FPL. I'm assuming that you meant creator. Nicholas says, Gibby says, think I'm going to wildcard this week. Got Saar injured, only Wirtz for Liverpool, and bad fixtures this week. Yeah, I don't mind the wildcard. I put out a couple of drafts. I put out an early one, closer to the end of the game week 3 games, and then I also updated it a couple of days ago. the updated draft still stands. I think that's still what I'm probably going to recommend if you guys are on a wild card. There's a couple of players that you could swing either ways. I mean, the Everton guys. There's Grealish. There's Ndiaye. There's also Keenan Dewsbury Hall. Right. So all of them, in with a shout. But out of the three, my favorite is just the one with the biggest goal threat, which is Ndiaye, and he's also on pens. So that's where I'd land in terms of the trickier decisions on a wild card. Josh, nice to have you in the chat. He's a member in our Telegram chat. Took your advice and went Guiu to Mateta. Yeah, I'm likely going to do that as well. I'm likely going to do Guiu to Mateta as well. In fact, I think the news that Ismail Assar is going to be out for two games, which is the Game Week 4 game and the Game Week 5 game, and then potentially back for Game Week 6 and Game Week 7. I think that's enough for me to just have him on the bench. He's not going to be a dead spot for a very long time, which is good news. So I'm probably just going to go Guiu to Mateta as well. Thinking of wildcarding myself, yeah, I won't put you off it. Sa and Jorgen Strand Larsen out, yeah. Give me no changes from my Game Week 4 wildcard team. Dan the Man, High Consult from Northwest UK. Thank you for joining us today, Dan the Man. Oh, there's already 60 of you guys in the chat. Thank you for tuning in. Please drop a like if you haven't already, and subscribe as well if you haven't. It's not the deadline today, by the way, for those of you wondering. Salah's record against Burnley ain't that great, yeah. I mean, it's not a good stat. Might triple captain Haaland against Burnley. I think that's worth a shout. More of a shout than Salah against Burnley, I'd say. If it was at Anfield, maybe I give a bit more consideration to it. But the fact that this is away, yeah, probably not. I will be doing Palmer to Semenyo. Is it a good idea? Yes. I think Palmer to Semenyo and then Guiu up to Mateta. I think it's going to be a very popular combination of moves. MSK137 says, I need help on the wild card. Which one is better? Ndiaye, Bruno, Gyökeres, and Munoz plus Virgil, or Haaland, Enzo, Paqueta, or any 6.7 option, Richards and Anderson. Oddly, I think I go the first option, Ndiaye, Bruno, Gyökeres, Munoz, Virgil. I think I go that option. Hartman will have Salah for breakfast. If you're playing Senesi and Lacroix, if you're getting Senesi and Lacroix for a -4, choose one of them. I like Senesi's fixtures for the longer term. And I like Lacroix's fixtures for the shorter term. So again, it depends. Like, how long do you have to use them for? Would you do sells to Raya for free? Already have Nico Williams. I think I'd be more keen to do Nico Williams to one of the Arsenal guys if you have money. And it seems like you do, because you can upgrade sells to Raya. I think I'm more keen to do a defensive transfer in your position. Keep sells and then do Nico Williams to Senesi, for example. Satyaki Roy says, would you have Salah and Paqueta or Wirtz and Bruno? I expect Bruno will play 10 with Cunha out. That's a possibility. It's a possibility for sure. But would I have Salah and Paqueta or Wirtz and Bruno? I say this is tricky, but I think I still have Salah and Paqueta because I still think Salah is the best captain this week. Which game week is the best to do wild card, triple captain, and bench boost? Very, very team specific for the wild card as well as the bench boost. Triple captain wise, then it's really a bit of a gamble for everyone. But again, because they've introduced the wild card, they've introduced the extra chips for the first half of the season. Because they've done that, I think there's room for a lot more different types of strategies, which I think is good. So it's pretty hard to say exactly when is the best time to use it for your team. But I think general windows for wildcard would probably be now in game week 4 after the first international break. Game week 6 to 7, there's also a bit of a swing there. And then if not, you're looking further down the line into game week 13 already. Thoughts on Munoz for Williams to double up on Crystal Palace defense? I like that move. Will I get... I have no idea, Manish. Njai is a doubt. Who's the best player in that price bracket? 6.5 million. Can you stretch to Grealish if you can't? But Njai being out, let me just double confirm that. Because I've read up a couple of updates. Not that I see that Njai is a doubt though. Yeah, I actually think he's fine. Yeah, so I still go Njai. If Sells plays bad, who's a good option to change him with? I think right now if you're buying a keeper, it has to be Raya. Arya says, hi brother, if I'm doing a free hit, does a 3-5-2 in which the forwards are Haaland and Pedro and the midfield includes Salah, Gakpo, Reinders, Ilanga sound good? I'd want to have Ekitike because I honestly don't think that Isak is going to start in game week 4. So I really think that if I was on a free hit, that I'd triple up on the Liverpool attack in Gakpo, Ekitike, and Salah. That's what I do. It's on the Everton Twitter page that Njai is a doubt. Oh, just. Probably came in when I was preparing for the stream. I guess this is what happens when you stream on press conference day. Yes. What exactly did David Moyes say? Yeah, he's got a knock. In that case, I think it has to be Jack Grealish then, unfortunately. Because I genuinely think that Njai is a better option than Grealish if fit. Just in case I don't wildcard, would you play Nico Williams against Arsenal away, Esteve against Liverpool at home, or Agnew Newcastle away? Probably Williams against Arsenal away, but honestly, all are really bad fixtures. But yeah, probably just go Williams. Thoughts on Munoz captain? It's a very rogue differential shout, but I don't mind it because I genuinely think that this week there are pretty decent considerations. Like, there are pretty decent options aside from Salah, especially because Crystal Palace is playing Sunderland. Yeah, especially because Crystal Palace is playing Sunderland, I think there's enough consideration to be given for other captains aside from Salah. I think even Haaland, I don't want to rule Haaland out as well. Like, he just scored 5 goals against Moldova. Yeah, I honestly think that there are different captain options that you could go for this week. Will João Pedro start? I'm pretty sure João Pedro will start. Should I get Isak or Ekitike in place of João Pedro? I think you keep João Pedro. You don't sell João Pedro this week. Is Spurs signing Simmons a risk for Pat Matasar's minutes or position? It's hard to say right now. It's hard to say because it's not a case where if Simmons comes in that Pat Matasar has to leave the team. It's completely possible for Pat Matasar to play a deeper role, a slightly deeper role, which we saw him play under Ange Postecoglou last season. He doesn't have to play as an attacking midfielder all the time. So he can play in the central positions, and that would probably mean that one of Palhinha or Rodrigo Bentancur drops out. That's one option. Another option is he continues to be in the attacking midfield position, but then Xavi Simons plays on the left in place of Brennan Johnson. So because there's so many variations of what could actually happen when Xavi Simons comes in, I would just honestly stay away from all of that. Get a couple of games for these players, see how Simmons is integrated into the Tottenham team, and then kind of assess how good of an FPL option each of these players are. Who's the best replacement for Milenkovic? I think it's fine to keep Forest defenders unless you have to sell them, because after this week the fixtures are actually okay. The thing is, with Ange Postecoglou coming in for Nottingham Forest, people think that the defense for Nottingham Forest is just going to all of a sudden become like Spurs, where it was very open. I just think there'll be more of a bit of a transition. I don't think it's immediate they just had the international break. A lot of the players that have gone to the international break are also key players for Tottenham, and they've had very little time to change suddenly from a back 4 formation under Nuno to a back 3 under Ange Postecoglou. So my guess is for the next few games that they continue to be 4 at the back at least. That is my guess. For short fixtures, choose Lacroix or Gehi. I would choose Lacroix, better for defensive contributions. David says, do you think Johnson starts one more week? Interesting question. I think if I had Johnson, I would just keep for now, if that answers your question. Ramadian says, hi Lam, what game weeks are most feasible for the wild card? Thank you in advance. So as I said, game week 4 is one of those windows. Game week 7 or game week 8 is another one of those windows where there's a bit of a mini fixture swing. Actually, game week 7/game week 8 is one of those windows I am personally considering for my team as well. And the last one I would say is game week 13. Beyond that, you have to kind of consider as well that game week 15, players like Salah, etc. will leave for the African Cup of Nations, and then we get an extra 5 transfers, and it's pretty much as good as having a wild card. In which case, I would always say that I think it's better to use, I mean, I've said this a lot in the preseason content as well. The moment I saw that the AFCON transfers were coming in from game week 15 or 16 onwards, that I would try to space out my wild card. And that's why I think 7/8 is a better window, I feel. Because you wild card in game week 13, five transfers come your way in game week 15, right? Which is like 2 to 3 game weeks after game week 13, which is, you know, I just feel like there's more value in using your wild card, having a few weeks to let it play out, and then using those 5 free transfers to make any transfers that you want, and then carry on again. I just feel that's a better use of you know, the cards that were dealt this season, I guess. So I'm more for a game week 7/8 wild card instead of a 13, but you know, it may split opinions, but I'm pretty certain that 7/8 is my plan. Would you go for Gakpo on a wild card if it meant downgrading one of Virgil and Munoz? Current budget for that midfield position is 6.5. I wouldn't. Yeah, I wouldn't. I would keep Virgil. I would keep Munoz on your wild card. Can you rank Grealish, Dango, and Ilanga? I would go in that order. I would go Grealish and then Dango and Ilanga. Thing with Grealish though that I think a lot of people need to realize as well is that after Aston Villa in game week 4, game week 5 he plays Liverpool, so that's not ideal. In game week 8 he plays Man City, where he cannot play. So he can't play Man City because he is on loan to Everton. He cannot play against his parent club. So essentially, you're going to get Jack Grealish for, at best, the Aston Villa game. The Liverpool game is not great. You can start him if you want to, but it's less than ideal. And then there's game week 6 and 7, and then game week 8 he won't play. So you have to realize that about Jack Grealish. And for me, that plays into why I feel Njai is the better option. But unfortunately, as some of you guys have pointed out in the chat already, that Njai is a doubt. So your hands are tied if you want to go for an Everton attacker around that price range. There's obviously Keenan Dewsbury-Hall. But yeah, I would rank Grealish and Njai ahead of them as well. But yeah, Dan the Man, to answer your question, I'd say Grealish, Dango, and Ilanga in that order. Simmons plays on the wing for the national team. Yes, he plays on the left, in fact, which is why Brennan Johnson was, I would say, the most at risk when Xavi Simmons came in, and you saw his minutes drop quite a bit as well, immediately. Satyaki says, hey Leon, sorry not to repeat my question. Missed to mention the -4. Should I play Verts and Bruno or sell them to Salah and Paqueta for a -4? Selling Bruno for a hit this week. For -4 though. I think maybe not, you know. Maybe not. Yeah, I probably wouldn't do it. I have to play one of Rodon, Reinders, or King. Who do you reckon? I'd say King against Leeds. I quite like King as a bit of a differential this week. He's 4.5. He starts for Fulham. He probably won't get the full 90, but he's playing pretty well. And he should have gotten the goal against Chelsea. And this is coming from a Chelsea fan. Can we aim for 70 likes? How many likes are we on? Let's have a look. Do drop a like if you guys are watching and you're enjoying the stream. Do subscribe as well if you haven't. Yeah, we're on 24 likes. So if you guys could like the stream, that would be lovely. Any predictions for the Manchester derby? I have hope, because these are the type of games where we end up surprising everyone. Yeah, I have to say, I agree. But yeah, predictions for the Manchester derby. I think Man City are just about stronger than Manchester United. I say just about, but it's really the quality for Manchester City is much better. But it's more, I'm considering the form and how well they're playing. I think Man City edges Manchester United for sure. So I have to go with Man City. But it's not as if Man City are playing extremely well. So I will caveat with that as well. Can we aim for... Oh, sorry, I said this. What do you think? Who do you think I should start? Goodmanson or Murillo? I have Sells in goal. So I have Sells in goal. And don't want to run double Forest. If you don't want to go double Forest, which is fine because you have Arsenal for Forest, I don't mind starting Goodmanson, but it's against Fulham. I don't mind it. Goodmanson is also not yellow flagged anymore. He's fine. So, yeah, I think starting Goodmanson instead of Murillo is fine. Prajwal says, I am on my free hit. I'm confused. To play Tarkowski or go for another defender. I have Raya, Porro, Munoz, and 3 Liverpool attack. You could play Tarkowski, but he wouldn't be in my free hit draft. On my free hit, I had 3 defenders. I had I had Anderson against Leeds, which is, I think, one of the few defenders this week that could do quite well at the 4.5 bracket. He's good for DEFCON as well. And I would also have Munoz on a free hit. So that's Munoz, that's Anderson. The last defender that I would have, if I can remember, I've made the draft a couple days ago already. That still stands though. Last defender is Burn. Yeah, so I would go triple Liverpool attack, and then I would have Dan Burn, Anderson, and also Munoz. That would be my choice. But I think in terms of defenders for free hit this week, you have quite a few options. It's different for attackers though. Attackers are pretty thin, and that's why looking at the Liverpool assets, I tried to max out the attackers by going for Gakpo, Ekitike, as well as Salah. Is Salah worth -4? Like earlier there was a question, and it was a -4 to get Salah and Paqueta. I'm not really fond of it, to be honest. I'm not really fond of it. Satyaki says, Leon, you're the best FPL content creator when it comes to interactions with your followers. Thanks, brother. I am. If I could, I would answer every question. So now on these kind of streams where there's lesser people, I'm happy to just answer everybody's questions. But yeah, thank you for the support. Frederick, who is a member, thank you for being a member for quite a while now. Anderson, Cucurella, Senesi got to play only 1. Oh, that's a very strong defense that you probably have there. Anderson, Cucurella, and Senesi. I think I'd go Cucurella. If you had to, would you start Elliot Anderson or Wood? I would start Wood for the Pens. Even though there is a risk that we could see something similar to what happened last week, where Wood was taken off against West Ham around the 71st minute. If you want to be safe and go for Elliot Anderson, get the 90 minutes out of him and also get the DEFCON, which I think he probably will hit this week. It's pretty tough for the Elliot Anderson owners who haven't been getting the DEFCON points. He's been falling short for the first 3 game weeks by 1. So it is quite unlucky, but I think against Arsenal, I'm pretty sure that he'll hit that he'll hit that number. So if you want to go a bit safer, then probably Elliot Anderson. Akash says start Wood or Renildo. I'd say Wood. Dylan says, would you keep Ekitike in a wild card? Thoughts on Eze and Vissa as options? Vissa is a doubt for game week 4, based on the press conferences. Thoughts on, will you keep Ekitike in a wild card? Probably not, because I'll prefer Gyökeres on a wild card. And I don't think there's so much funds to spread around that you can afford Gyökeres as well as Ekitike. My front 3 for a wild card would be Gyökeres, Mateta, and also João Pedro. Michael says, hi, would you sell Wood to Pedro? Yes, I would. Because I think Pedro's minutes is very, very good now. Swap out Sa for Giyu. I don't think you can do that immediately because I'm assuming that you mean a combination move of Sa out. I'm assuming that you mean a combination move of upgrading Giyu as a result of Sa being out. Then that is probably what I'm doing, because what I'm doing is dropping Sa down to the bench. I have my squad on screen right now, but my transfers have not been made. I'm probably going to mark Giyu up to Mateta as my transfer. Antonio says, my free hit 4 team is Sanchez, Anderson, Van Dijk, Lacroix, Livramento, Salah, Gakpo, Barnes, Haaland, Voltemada, Mateta with King as first sub. Do you think Voltemada would start? I think he will start because Vissa is basically a doubt. So I do think like they don't have any other options. I just don't think I'll go that heavy on Newcastle though. I think one Newcastle attacker is good enough, and one defender if you really want. So 2 Newcastle players in your free hit I think is good enough. I would try to maximize. I think there's a lack of Crystal Palace players in your team, especially I don't see any Munoz. I would go for Munoz instead of Lacroix. And so Crystal Palace players is 1. I think having Haaland and Salah is possible, but you see the compromises that you have to make. Like there's no Munoz, I'm assuming that you're having 2 other dead spots for your 4.0 million defenders, like maybe Renildo or Esteve or Goodmanson. I don't mind a Salah and Haaland free hit. But yeah, I would still try not to compromise on some of the key pillars of a free hit for game week 4, which I would say are players like Munoz. João Pedro still has to be in there. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I think I would take out some of those Newcastle players. VJ says, can we get to 75 likes? Can we get to 75 likes? For those of you who are watching and you haven't liked, please do drop a like on the stream. Oh, one more thing as well. So recently on our Telegram group, the QR is there on the screen as well. If you don't have Telegram, go and download Telegram and join the chat. There's about 1,000 of us in there. Recently, one of our community members built a bot, and basically what that bot does is that it pipes in live FPL predictions. So basically the most reliable price change predictions right now from this website called livefpl.net. If you haven't heard of it already, they do incredible work. Ragaboli, who is the creator of the website, has created multiple models to predict the price changes, and it's pretty reliable. So what the bot does is basically pull the data from the site into the chat to notify you twice a day who is predicted to rise or fall in price. So it's pretty useful, and yeah, I think it'll help those of you guys who are in the chat. So if you haven't already, do go and join the chat. I think it'll be pretty useful. All right, so enough plugging the chat. What do you think of Voltemade on a free hit? He wouldn't be on my free hit is what I'd say, because I would have João Pedro, I would have Mateta, then I would have Ekitike. That would be my front three. Thomas says, which swap would you recommend? Semenyo for Sa or Mateta for Giu? If you do Mateta for Giu, then it would mean that you keep Sa in your team, which is what I'm doing. And then from game week 6/7 onwards, when he comes back, then I will have him again. But it is because it falls into my bigger strategy of wildcarding in game week 8. Right, game week 7/game week 8, that's my wildcard period. It really depends, right? If you do Sa out and then Semenyo in, you probably can keep that team for a longer period of time, is what I'm guessing. So you have to kind of map out your next few moves as well. It's not so... it's not simply just looking at the players you're bringing in for an injured Sa, for example. It affects your transfers moving forward as well, so you have to think about that. Henry says, Kudus will get less minutes for Xavi Simons. No, I think Xavi Simons affects a couple of players, but not Kudus directly. I think he affects Johnson the most, and Pat Matassa probably second after Johnson. But again, as I've said, it's very hard to ascertain exactly how Xavi Simons would be assimilated into the team, because there is a possibility that we could see both Pat Matassa and Xavi Simons in the same team. They just won't play the same role together. Like, they won't be attacking midfielders together. One would be probably playing on the wing, or Pat Matassa drops back to a more defensive position. Right, so I'm probably going to stream for another 10-15 minutes. If you guys haven't put in your questions, please drop them in. Regarding my team though, what I'm likely going to do is Mateta in for Mark Giu. That is my plan. Right, so I'll probably make the transfer tomorrow, but I can't stream tomorrow, and that's why, or I might even do it tonight, right? Once all the press conferences are out and I'm confident enough, I'll probably pull the trigger tonight. And then Mateta in for Giu, Captain Salah, and everything else stays constant. I think that is likely my plan. Just in terms of team selection wise, because I haven't uploaded a team selection video. So I'm pretty sure that some of you guys will be re-watching this back tomorrow. When you're watching this on screen right now is not my final team. I'm going to make a transfer of Mateta in for Giu. Excuse me. Start Njai or Fulham Anderson. Njai is a bit of a doubt, but I think it's going to be a case where if he's fit, he'll start. If he's not fit, he won't come on at all. So I think you can start Njai and then have Fulham's Joachim Anderson first on the bench, so that he auto subs in if Njai doesn't play. Frederick says, I want a wild card, brought in Verts for 2 weeks and put the captain on Watkins. I like to go against the crowd. I like to hear that. I like to hear that. I like a differential player. I genuinely enjoy listening to different opinions, right, which is I think the best part of creating content in FPL as well. Just hear what different people think, why they think that's the case, and if it works out for them in when you watch weekends games, even better. Right, so I hope that works out. Is Thiago a good bench option? I'd say that I've seen a couple of drafts with, Thiago. I just don't think I would rather spend a couple of like maybe 1 to 2 million more to reach the players that I think are much better in the forward positions. In the forward positions, I think there's really genuinely much better options than the midfield positions. Like honestly, I do think like for the midfield positions, especially on a free hit this week, you will realize like most of the options, there's pros and cons to them. Like you're never really fully sold. But for the forward options, I'm happy enough if I had 4 forwards, like if I could choose 4 forwards on a free hit this week, I'll be pretty happy. But that's just not the case. So I think in terms of going for a cheap striker, I just think I would just spend that extra money. I would even downgrade one of those midfielders to those cheap midfielders, like even Keenan Dewsbury Hall at 5 million just as a bench option, then upgrade like your Thiago all the way to João Pedro, for example. Gyökeres, if you can reach, right, 9 million. If not, Evan Nielsen is a decent option as well. Could be on pens if Kluivert is off the pitch. Antonio says, thanks. Do you think that João Pedro and Estevao are going to get reduced minutes because of the Brazilian international break, and Maresca will try to give you a striker and not risk Palmer playing him versus Bayern? Something we have to consider is that Maresca clearly said that he's going to manage Cole Palmer's return to the team. So I do think like because that is the case, granted that João Pedro as well as Estevao are coming back a little bit later from international breaks, but we've seen that happen with Brighton. Many a times when João Pedro leaves to go on international break with Brazil, he comes back late, he still features for Brighton, he still plays 90 minutes. I remember one of those games last season, he played the 90 minutes, he got a late penalty and he scored that penalty. I think it was against Arsenal, if I'm not wrong. I mean, we've seen this happen a couple of times already. So I would still say that João Pedro is going to get very, very good minutes, is my guess. Guiu as a striker, probably maybe the last 5 to 10 minutes, I guess, at maximum. Did you move house? No, I didn't move house. So I'm just currently away from my home for a couple days. But yeah, this is just a temporary setup. It's also why I can't record my team selection video, but not to worry, everything else will be back to normal for the game week 5 content. Akash says, I need money to get Haaland and Palmer later, so I'm downgrading whenever I get a chance. Choose one out of Saar to Keenan Dewsbury Hall or Harvey Elliott. Then it has to be Keenan Dewsbury Hall then. Harvey Elliott is, I mean, we don't know for certain if he's going to start every single game. And that would be my concern, because yes, he is a great player. Yes, Unai Emery has spoken very highly of him. But I think there has to be some form of adjustment. Like there are good enough players in the Aston Villa attack for him to slowly assimilate Harvey Elliott. It doesn't have to be a case where he immediately brings them in. What do you think of this wild card? Sanchez, Dubravka, Senesi, Lacroix, Van Dijk, Anderson, Van de Ven, Gakpo, Semenyo, Dewsbury Hall. I don't think Mbumo is necessary, to be honest. Gakpo, Semenyo, Dewsbury Hall, Anderson, João Pedro, Hall, TK. I think choosing to go no Salah is okay. I mean, it's not what I would advise, but I think it's okay. But I think having Mbumo there is not necessary at all. And I do see that you're also trying to cover no Salah with having Gakpo and Ekitike. I think the draft overall is fine. It's just that I don't think Mbumo is worth the money that you're paying. Would you bring in Semenyo for Rodgers? Already brought in Munoz with one of my free transfers. No. I just keep Rodgers. I don't think Semenyo in for Rodgers is a move I make this week. Please do not spam the chat, Enoch. Would you bring in some... Sorry, is Wissa injured? Wissa is a bit of a doubt, is what we're hearing from the press conference. False FG says current team is Sanchez, Dubravka, Estef, Anderson, Murillo, Nico Williams, Porro, Telemans, Palmer, Salah, Reinders, Bruno Fernandes, Watkins, João Pedro, Guillo. 3 free transfers. What would be a good transfer plan? Palmer out is probably what I'd do. Palmer out for Semenyo, probably. And a couple of defensive transfers because you have Murillo and Nico Williams. Probably Senesi in. Right, you could use 2 transfers to do that. So it's Palmer out for Semenyo, Murillo or Williams out for Senesi. Your plan is Palmer to Grealish, Guillo to Mateta. Concerned about 2 Villa assets into Forest defenders. I think you'll be more worried about 2 Forest defenders, to be honest. Want to upgrade Sanchez to Raya for good fixture after 2 game weeks? I mean, those are possible. I would address the Forest defenders first. And then I would also, if you want to look at Guillo up to Mateta, that's fine. Sancho will be a good option on the bench. Nah, I wouldn't go there. Sia says, if you have Salah and Ekitike, who would be the captain for game week 4? I do like a bit of a rogue captain in Ekitike. But knowing myself and the kind of FPL manager that I am, I'd probably still captain Salah, who's a penalty taker. Median, I probably would not wildcard that team. I wouldn't. Best goalkeeper for wildcard. Thoughts on Donnarumma? The best goalkeeper on the wildcard has to be David Raya. I wouldn't go Donnarumma, even though I do think Donnarumma starts for Man City. Man City defense is just not as good as the Arsenal defense. Like, plain and simple on that one. Who should I get instead of Mbumo? Rodgers, or maybe go Enzo and upgrade one of Anderson or Dewsbury Hall. I don't think I'd have Rodgers. I mean, it defeats the... If you go Enzo and then upgrade one of Anderson or Dewsbury Hall, it's the same thing. Like, it defeats the purpose. You're just swapping around the cheaper midfielders, which is no real significant difference. I think instead of Mbumo, if I scroll back to your team... You could go for Grealish. And then, I mean, okay, granted, you could do Dewsbury Hall to... I don't think I'll go Enzo. I'd probably go... Reinders. Yeah, I'd probably go Reinders. João Pedro on a free hit team? No, I would have João Pedro in my free hit team. Awamara says, can I type my team here? Confused whether to wildcard, free hit, or just roll the 1 free transfer. Sure, you can type in your team. I'm also going to be ending the stream in about 5 minutes, so please drop in your questions. And also, if you enjoyed today's stream, please do drop a like. If you had your questions answered and you enjoyed it, please do drop a like to support the channel and also subscribe as well. That one's the best. But what's Forest's good fixtures besides? But what about Forest's good fixtures besides Arsenal in game week 4 and Newcastle in game week 7? But you have 2 Forest defenders though. I genuinely don't think that is necessary. Even if they have good fixtures, I don't think that defensively, even with Ange coming in right now, he's not a very defensive-minded manager. So I genuinely don't think you have to be too worried about not having double Forest defense. BJ, I doubt we're gonna hit today's like target, but thank you so much for helping to set a target and getting people to like. Nishant says triple captain Salah. I wouldn't put you off it. I don't mind it, but I probably wouldn't do it. All right, so I think that's about where I'm gonna leave the stream. That's about where I'm going to leave the stream. Harvey Elliott, Xavi Simons, yeah. We'll see how these players fare. Verbruggen, Rodon, Nico Williams, Van de Ven, Njai, Salah, Cunha, Dewsbury, Hall, Fernandez, Wood, Haaland, Dubravka, Diouf, Esteve, Mark, Guiu. So it's a Salah Haaland draft. I just about wouldn't wildcard this team. I think I would spend your 1 free transfer, at maximum take a hit, but that's pretty much what I do. Umwara, I wouldn't wildcard, I wouldn't free hit. I just spend your 1 free transfer to improve one aspect of your team. There's a couple of aspects that I think you could improve, especially with Cunha. You could take Cunha out. If not, the rest are actually okay. And Njai is a bit of a doubt, but you could start him and then have a good option on your bench to come on as a replacement. False FG says, also I think Grealish would be a better pick than Semenyo since he's going to the AFCON in December, though it is still good. Though it is still far, but good thing to consider about. I think you mean still far. Yeah, it is still far. It's still worth considering. But I still probably would put Semenyo ahead of Grealish this week in terms of transfer targets. Is Strand Larsen or Sarr best to sell? I would sell Strand Larsen ahead of Sarr because Sarr's recovery seems to be sooner than Strand Larsen's. Alright, I'm going to leave it at that. Thank you for tuning in for today's stream. Different kind of a time that I'm streaming. So thank you all for still coming down. I will not be streaming tomorrow on the actual deadline. So this is a pre-deadline stream. I will upload or post my team on social media as always. If you guys want to follow me there on Instagram, you can follow me where I post my team every single deadline. If not, thank you for tuning in, and I'll catch you guys very, very soon in more content coming for Game Week 5. FPL is back. FPL is back after such a long international break. I hope you guys are excited for it. And yeah, I'll catch you guys very soon for Game Week 5 content. Bye-bye.